Innova has so many damn molds, there's no way you thought they could all be good. Honestly, they'd be lucky if I say more than 10 are worth bagging, but that's not what we're talking about today. Instead, I'm going to be exposing the most overrated Innova discs of all time, or at least the ones I'm feeling right now. Does anyone still putt with the AVR? I know lots of people start off with their 126 gram DX AVR from their Innova starter pack, but I feel like after most serious disc golfers' third round, they found anything else to putt with. I think even putting with your driver would be more acceptable. If you're allowed to get the early bird special, I'll allow you to putt with it still. But for anyone who picks up the game within the last 5 years, what the hell are you doing? Put some effort into your personality. I can't think of a more boring answer to what do you putt with question than an AVR. I bet your favorite sandwich is just bread and extra mayonnaise. And just for all you thinking you're safe with whatever AVR variety you have, you're not. If anything, it's so much worse. I can't imagine someone looking at an AVR X3 and thinking it sounds like a good disc. Seems like making shit unnecessarily complicated for no reason. Actually, that sounds exactly like Innova. What other brand would think adding letters and numbers to their discs is a great idea? Yeah, you're right. Disc names have such a low standard, it's crazy. Still, whoever thought calling a disc a V-Rock X3 was a good idea, you're a fucking idiot, or Dave smacked the blunt one too many times before going into work one day. Whatever he was doing, he needs to get back on that, because that's when gold was being made. That's not a saying, but the dude literally made the Destroyer tripping his balls off some sort of psychedelic, and made the greatest disc to ever be made. Discs go to bed at night wishing to be the Destroyer, and it was made by some guy who wears a bucket hat and throws polecats. I love disc golf. I gotta give credit where credit is due. Dave has made some classics, even The Rock. I have to accept the impact it has made on the game. The elite players are still hucking these things in DX plastic, just like the local AMs. Shit, the drunk guy that lives under hole 5 at my home course only has one disc, and it's a bright pink rock that has chew marks on it. To be honest, I thought it was from a dog, but I swear I've seen him biting it before. But I gotta be honest, I'm not a fan of the Rock 3. I think it's one of the most uncomfortable mid-ranges I've ever felt. Nothing about it makes me want to keep throwing it. I used to be the biggest Paul McBeth fanboy, but cut me some slack. I was 16 and all the coverage I had was Spin TV European Open videos that Paul dominated. He ruined mid-ranges for me because I wanted to throw all the discs with his name on them. So I tried the Rock 3 until I decided to never bag a mid again. I eventually came to the realization that was a stupid mindset, but there was a solid year I didn't bag a single traditional mid-range. I did have a period when I was bagging V-Rocks, but that was a weird story. In my senior year of high school, I tagged along with my girlfriend at the time's family to visit ASU for a weekend. Immediately, I knew I needed to take advantage of that opportunity and play a disc golf course in Arizona. As much as I tried to get them to drive to Fountain Hills, they weren't budging. Instead, on a 117-degree day, her dad and I played this awesome course in the desert that went up and down mountains. Up until this point, he had never played disc golf, so before the trip, I picked out a pair of V-Rocks and a Leopard from Dick's Sporting Goods for him to throw. As hot as it was, you would think we would bring water. Yeah, that would have been dope, because it was about hole 7 when I noticed his face was swelling up from the heat. He pushed through a few more holes like a champ before he expressed to me that he was going to pass out. I was in no position to help a grown man about to pass out on top of a mountain in blistering hot weather, so I did what I do best and kept going. We decided it would be a good idea if he didn't throw, but I felt if we were walking in the direction of a basket, it would only make sense to keep throwing. Eventually, we made it back to the parking lot, and luckily there was a water fountain. Well, it would have been lucky if it worked, but it didn't. But he survived until the gas station and took the fastest I've ever seen anyone drink a gallon of water. He was cool enough to come back with me the next day to finish the rest of the course. And the first hole back, I started with one of the most embarrassing throws in my life. It was one of those full Richard moments that make you want to scream the F word, even with the mom walking with her kid and grandma feeding the ducks nearby. Sometimes they just have to understand. I must have not wanted him to think some bitch was dating his daughter or something, because I beelined one of the V-Rocks straight into the chains from 270 feet out and played it off like a straight pimp. I think I lost those discs at her house because after we broke up, I haven't seen them, which is a shame. The most overrated Innova disc is obvious, and people never want to admit it. I would like to preface that I don't know many people who love this disc more than me, and I have a love that runs deep. Yet I'm man enough to admit that it's not only Innova's most overrated disc, but it's one of the most overrated discs of all time. That is the Destroyer. 90% of disc golfers bagging this thing shouldn't be. I don't say that to be a dick, rather trying to highlight those thinking that this disc is actually doing them any good. If you don't throw over 400 feet, get this disc far away from you. Unless you are truly using it for headwind shots or anything as a meat hook, then maybe it's acceptable. But if you're maxing out at 300 feet and you still tell me your go-to disc is the Destroyer, I'm going to slap you in the face harder than your mom should have for having such a stupid mindset. I'll bet anything that most disc golfers can go buy a Wraith and throw it farther than the Destroyer with less effort. If you don't believe me, I urge you to go try it. And if you want some other Innova suggestions, check out the Charger, Strike, and Turn. Some of you needed to realize that it's okay to throw less stable discs, so here's your wake-up call. I don't know when this whole insecurity thing started and why disc golfers felt like throwing Destroyers would compensate for their shitty game, but newsflash, it doesn't. You're only hurting yourself not throwing discs that fit your arm speed. I know it sucks to hear, but if you want to get better, the truth hurts. The Sidewinder is the off-brand Roadrunner. They're basically the same disc, except from what I've seen, if you tuck in your shirt, you prefer the Roadrunner. But if you double the disc as a rolling tray, you're definitely a Sidewinder guy. Personally, I would be embarrassed to roll even the fattest doobies in a Sidewinder, because then I would have to tell people I spent money on a basic understable disc only for it to be not as good as, the 4 other of the same disc Innova makes. I just never bought into the concept. Oh shit, a Sidewinder's a snake? Never mind. Fuck the Roadrunner and get me one of those bad boys. This might be the most controversial take I have on this video, but I don't see the hype behind the Thunderbird. It fills the non-existent gap in my bag between fairway driver and driver. There's never an occasion I feel like I need a disc for this slot. Between my T-Bird 3 and Sexton Firebird, I'm all set. And if those discs didn't exist, I still wouldn't settle for an average one. Nothing screams wow to me with a simple 9-speed stable disc that doesn't even know what it wants to be. I swear people tell me that every disc golfer can throw this disc, yet I think no disc golfer should throw this. I don't see its purpose. Why not disc down a bit for more control or disc up and rip it? Not this right in the middle bullshit. Sure, you can throw this disc and it'll be fine. Just boring if you ask me, and not deserving of all the praise it gets from disc golfers online. These are the most overrated discs that Innova is trying to pawn off as real frisbees people should bag. I'm not buying it, so if you want to see a part 2 of even more overrated Innova discs, make sure to drop a like, and if I made you laugh, subscribe down below. And if you want to know why you should never bag the Discmania tilt, check out the video right here.